Hi, I'm Larry Leach, proud Executive Director of 12 Community Safety Initiative and host of the Meet Your Neighbors series. During the pandemic, we held a number of sessions over Zoom aimed at learning more about the diverse cultures and people in our communities. Our guest panelists were asked a series of 4 questions directed at identifying some of the challenges they face, what supports could help, and how those of us in our communities can welcome newcomers into our neighborhoods. Meet Your Neighbors series gives us a closer look at each of the sessions and the wonderful guest panelists that we had in our diversity series. We've also included some of our participants in the series with their insightful questions and comments. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoy Meet Your Latino Neighbors. I will get us started with Patricia, and she can do her opening remarks.
Thank you so much, everyone. I am very cozy in my home, and I am very happy to participate today and do something meaningful. I did my bachelor in Colombia, and for psychologists, it has been very interesting on this topic since I came to Canada. Just for the fact that coming from a field that is interested in people, when I came for me personally, it transformed the process of immigration, transformed my personal life and my profession. That's part of immigration. When you leave your comfort zone of your country to look for whatever you were looking, a better life or better opportunities for your family, you will face difficulties because that's as no one easy. It's a phenomenon that is not easy to manage. We are working with people that struggle and faces a lot of challenges. But lately, I've seen something very interesting that I never had seen before. And it's people start like increasing awareness. And you actually, it's beautiful that you have this iceberg because I see people is starting to increase awareness, not just only a struggle, but start asking questions about their own journey and personal development. And it's happening now. So that's very good to see that.
Thanks, Patricia. Go ahead, Brenda.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And I am very happy that I was invited to this very interesting discussion. I am from Mexico. I arrived to Calgary in March 2014. We have been living here in Calgary since then. When we were exploring the possibility of moving abroad, me and my husband, we really wanted to live in a diverse and multicultural community. While also gaining international career experience. That's why we came here. And the beautiful scenery of Calgary and the mountains and also the amazing weather was a plus, definitely. And when I first came here, I worked in a multinational company for 5 years. And it was actually the same company I was working for in Mexico. So I was really lucky that they offered me a position here. And I worked for them for 5 years. And then I left the corporate world and decided to focus on my own projects. Most of them are related to e-commerce. And that's what I have been doing for the last couple of years. So still working, but now as a self-employed.
Awesome, thank you. And last but certainly not least, I want to introduce Dafne, who invited our guests. So maybe just give a little introduction to yourself, Dafne.
Okay, hi everybody, I'm Dafne. I am originally from Mexico City, and I'm excited about this series just to learn about diversity, different cultures, and different views of life for sure. Yeah, that would be it.
All right, thank you. So I'll get into the big questions. What are some of the issues or concerns that you feel members of your communities are facing?
I don't know if it's that obvious, but for me it is. It's integration. Calgary is already a very diverse and multicultural city. Like there's people from everywhere, from all around the world. Diversity is already in Calgary. Diversity is already here, but I think the real challenge is talk about inclusion, to make the city more inclusive. I think that many of the members of my community do not feel they are acknowledged as part of the broader community. They are acknowledged as part of the, Latino community, but not as part of the broader community. And they don't participate because they don't truly believe that they have a meaningful voice that will matter in the large scheme of things.
When you immigrate, you have a sense of, I don't know, like you feel lonely. You just, even if it was by choice, it doesn't take away the feeling of not belonging, right? Like you just lost your support network, and then you're trying to blend and adapt. And I do consider that even adopt what you're seeing so you can blend. I've seen that in my own group where people are just trying to blend, right? Like they don't care about their own identity. I've met people like that. And so they're so worried about blending that they just get lost in the process of their own identity.
From my personal experience as a psychologist, because 99% of my clients are Latinos, and that's the community that I has been working with, I found 4 different kind of difficulties. For sure, integration, but what that means, integration for the families. I know the city of Calgary, especially for the last couple of years, has been working really well on diversity, but it's still a lot of efforts that we can put there in order to create more spaces where people can feel comfortable to participate and integrate. Social organizations, and it's important for sure, focus a lot, it's a lot of resources in giving support, financial support, but they forget about emotional and social support, having fun, creating those spaces, creating support for people that is coming, for example, with trauma. And there are no people specialized in the area of immigrants. And I can't stress enough on that. And I was speaking on that when I was going to the master, like it was a maze for me to see people in the master level that they didn't have a single experience dealing with people from other countries. And that's the people that need to be prepared to go to work with them. And not just only for one kind of population. Let's say immigrants, yes, but immigrants is a big pot. So specialized youth have different needs than children, and parents have different needs than adults and seniors. And that's what we are talking here about. How, when you integrate, is when you feel that you belong and you have that self of belonging.
That's very well said. Other than what you've touched on, are there other areas that you think immigrants need support?
When we as an immigrant or as newcomers, transitioning into a new life in a new country is not only financially difficult, but also socially and psychologically challenging. It's very, very, and emotionally, it's very, very difficult to do that. For me, accessing different resources and programs that I found in the city really helped me to settle in Calgary. And it was actually CCIS. That was the first organization that I found, and I started attending a bunch of workshops and things that they were offering for newcomers, and that really made my life easier, and still does. But I think not all the immigrants know that those resources are available. So we need to, I don't know what we need to do, but I know that we need to do something to let them know that there's a bunch of resources that are not necessarily financial resources, that are other kind of supports in the city available for everyone.
We have a lot to offer to this country because that's why we are coming. Canada needs people, and go to easy the process of accreditation I think that is going to be very important in all levels. And I know that this is a huge topic that is going in a huge level, in the high level. The government say one thing because government knows that we need immigrants, but the college and the professional schools say another things. Yes, but you had to do this, you had to do that. And it's not like we are asking for a special treatment. We are asking to facilitate the process. Don't make it more difficult than it is already. Just speaking about my process, I spent 10 years. I had the resources and I have the patience to go to the over all this time, but I know everyone have that time. It's win-win because it's gonna have more professionals. Well, that's good for us too.
Well, thanks very much. Brenda, you want to talk a little bit more about education and transferability and that sort of thing?
Well, I'm an engineer, and it was very surprised actually surprised and not in a good way when I first came here and I discovered that I couldn't call myself an engineer because I wasn't really registered as an engineer, and it was actually illegal. So I had someone contacting me from APEGA telling me like I couldn't say I'm an engineer because I was not in Canada, right? It was also a process for me because I was working in the industry. It was an engineering company. So I started the whole process. My university in Mexico, it's very well recognized in Mexico and in Latin America, but nobody cared about my university here. And actually, what helped me to get my professional designation was my master's in Germany. It doesn't matter if my university in Mexico was great. Germany, just because it's Germany, has more recognition, right? I think other than that, it was very straightforward.
So digging into support a little bit more, what do you think community associations could do to offer support to the Latino community?
Make more accessible and facilitate access to the newcomers to different networks and mentorship, because when we first come here we don't know anything. I remember when I first arrived to Calgary and I was like, oh, it's -20. I like, what does that even feel like? That's not that wasn't in my mind. What kind of shoes should I get to walk on on the street? What kind of jacket should I buy? Like, you don't know anything if you come from a country like Mexico and you've never been exposed to this weather or these conditions, right? So I think a lot of mentorship is needed for newcomers, and I think this can be provided by community members.
Is we normalize that we are all here and we are living in the same country, and creating spaces where Canadians also get to know more about and have more experience with immigrants, and they will see actually that it's not that bad. And I will give you a simple example. Canadians are very polite, Canadians are very nice, and like my neighbors. I has been 12 years in this house. Just only for the last 5 years, we say hi to my neighbor, that's it. Hi and bye, nothing else happened. And I don't want to cross bridges there. So if she doesn't want to talk, I don't talk, and the same. But we met in the church once. I moved from the Latino church and I moved to the Canadian church, and 5 years ago, and she saw me there and she said, oh, I think I know you. And I said, yes, you are my neighbor. I have been there for almost 8 years, and we just say hi. But, oh my God, I am really bad neighbor, and you are coming to the same church. When she saw me in her church, she felt like we had more things in common. And since that, we are best friends ever. We always go for tea, she invite me for tea, and she saw that I am okay.
Talking specifically about community associations, I started to have awareness about them until I joined 12 CSI. I married a Canadian citizen, so you would think it would be easier for me to kind of blend in my process, but it's not even there for some members of the community that are already there. So for an immigrant, it's even worse. Also, when I realized I had one and I went over there, I didn't see anybody that looked like me. I didn't see anybody that was more welcoming. Everybody seemed to me that they knew each other from a very long time. And so these circles of friendships or, they were very close. I don't consider like I have a language barrier. So even when I could ask and have conversations, it was pretty challenging. So it would be great if one information was more out there, and then feeling welcome when you're reaching out, it would be awesome.
The one thing I'll mention from what you said, though, Dafne, that's been quite a common theme is that comfort level of, this new person walks into a group of people that seem like they've known each other for 20 years. That's come up a couple of times in our sessions, and it is really something that happens to born and bred Canadians as well. If you're new to the community and you walk in the room, it's like, yeah, there's a bunch of people there that have known each other for 20 years. And that is a big barrier that community associations really have to tackle. And it's not just for immigrants, but just for new people to the community, period. To be open and welcoming. For those of you who are out there listening and are part of community associations, I think just if you can keep that in your heart and in your soul, you'll make genuine efforts to attract immigrants and newcomers. I wonder if there is enough knowledge of what a community association does and what the value is of a community association, and does that message need to get out?
Yeah, I will agree with that. Yeah.
Do you know anybody within your community that's involved in a community association?
I know people from my community, from the Latino community, who participates in other Latino communities. But when for example, because pre-COVID, I was volunteering for a few years in the Women's Center of Calgary, and I was actually part of the board of directors. And I participated also in the CCIS mentorship program, mentoring and supporting newcomers and in their process of adaptation and job search. And I never saw a Latino participating as a volunteer in those organizations that are not Latino organizations. I saw Latinos going for for the mentor to find a mentor or to look for resources in the Women's Center or things like that. But I never saw them participating as volunteers. However, I've seen Latinos participating as volunteers in Latino organizations. So I don't know, that's maybe something that we also need to tackle, right?
Latinos are, at least I'm going to speak for Mexicans, we love joining communities. Like, we like communities. We like to be in groups. So more than not wanting to join, it would be more like, tell me what's available, and then I would join.
I do. I have a very good friends in the community that has been working in the community association, the Colombian Professional Canadian Association. I know people from the Casa Mexico is also a Latino organization that provides services to the community. And yes, I do know them, and I actually know them as people, but also I see the effort and the work that they are providing for creating these activities to welcome their own community, but also welcome Canadians. And I see sometimes with sadness that even despite that effort, events, people don't know about them. It's important that not just only us with our own resources support this, because nobody knows us here. Like you say, they don't know a Canadian. Imagine where is an immigrant in the level 0, you know? So we have different barriers to go. So is we get more support from this or other mainstream organization, I think that will be even better to flourish those organizations.
Is there any other questions from the audience? You can go ahead and unmute and speak up if you've got one.
I would like to know, is there only one language spoken over there, and what about the diversity of cultures?
Thank you for the question. Yes, it's just only one language in, well, I will say 2. Central America, we speak Spanish, but it's just only one country that speaks Portuguese, and it's Brazil. So, and they are Latinos too. It's huge diversity. We have difference in our own countries, and beside that, the countries that we have, for example, in the way that we were conquered. For example, more in the north side, we had more the Spanish influence, but also in the middle with Argentinians and Chileans, also we have a European influence, and that changed a lot of the culture. So, for example, but they speak in a totally different way. They live the life, the way the society was developed also is different. So it's a huge difference from the cultures. But something that's very common from Latinos is that we are a very, very happy community. Not just only the way that we express our emotions and the dancing and the music, we really do our best to be happy with the resources that we have.
I just wanted to add, like, besides Spanish and Portuguese that is spoken all around Latin America, in Mexico and in many other countries, we also have like the local languages that the native people speak. And in terms of diversity, it is true what Patricia was saying. And like, you cannot say, oh, what is the Mexican food from where? North, center, or, you know, or south is very, very different. Even within the same country, we have a lot of cultural differences. Imagine if that happens in one country, if you compare with other countries, is a lot of diversity within Latin America.
Pat asks, what immigrant support agencies should community organizations try to connect to build relationships with newcomers? Wondering if realtors could also be a connector as well as Welcome Wagon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea to try out with the realtors because they have access to the people. And I think like this idea, there are many others idea that we should keep trying until finding the right approach to bring more people, to engage more people in this.
Mm-hmm. I will say that Latinos have a vein for being entrepreneurs. So for sure, the commercial and business organizations, if they approach the community association, will help a lot because we are eager for that. As much as we try, that's the most important thing to do.
That would be the first organization I was in contact with when I came to Canada, the Center for Newcomers, and I didn't know about any other organization, and they were actually super helpful. They made me feel like they guided me through some questions that I had, professional questions, and like about my professional life and what was going to happen when I landed here. So yeah, that'd be awesome if through them we could connect with community associations just locally. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Very true. Well, I'm going to reach out to each one of you and ask you what you learned today. So I'm going to start with Michelle.
We can always relate to each other as well on some level. And I think that is the magic of these sessions, is that you just get this look into somebody else's life and you can say, yeah, I could relate to that, or, oh man, that must be tough. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is although we're different and we're all the same, you know, we want family, we want love, we want to be accepted, we want to feel a part of our community.
Pat?
I guess I'm hearing firsthand. I know that I feel it's kind of like the switch and bait that Canada does with educated people coming in as immigrants. And I feel badly about that. I wish there was some way that we could figure that out, because it's come because you're educated. Oh, but you don't qualify now that you're here. I think that that is really something that we need to work on. And just hearing you're mentioning that, it's just brought it home again, how underemployed so many people are, and they were brought here with the dream of continuing their career.
Marion?
Mentioned earlier, there's kind of that disconnect between the government and government policy, and then the institution of, you know, the accrediting institution, and they really do need to come together, because it's been on the table. It's at a higher level, it's at a systemic level, but you know, at the end of the day, the majority of people that come to Canada are skilled. They get accepted based on their education and their you know, the professional backgrounds, and then to not have that opportunity is very, very frustrating. So yeah, that's a good point. And just I also was really struck by the comment, and I mentioned about the communities making all the efforts to reach mainstream rather than the other way around. And I think that we also have to reflect on, you know, that, you know, we are talking about inclusion. How can we get more people into community associations, make communities more inclusive? And yet we're hearing that it's actually the diverse communities that have had to do all that work, and still getting the door kind of shut is what I'm taking away from that. So that's an interesting reflection. And also just one other point, if you don't mind, I'm learning so much, but it's very interesting that we're also talking about Canadian culture, you know, through all of this, and reflecting on Canadian culture and how, you know, that maybe lack of understanding from that, you know, even people always say, oh, what's Canadian culture? And so it's good to think about what is Canadian culture, you know, so yeah, interesting having that self-reflection as well on being a Canadian.
Samantha?
I was going to say education seems to be a common theme, and maybe I misunderstood how Brenda answered it, but how her education was done in Germany, and Germany is better, even though she had education done in Mexico as well. So why was Germany better than Mexico? So I'm just curious to see in the future if that will change, if education will become more accepted and standardized across countries, or if it'll stay the same.
Gurcharan?
All the immigrants, when they come from their birthplace, they have to face the same difficulties and same things they have to go through. The thing of concern for me is that the people who migrate over here, they bring very big degrees with them. Some are PhDs, some are masters. And they have to go through a process to do the bachelor sometimes again. So this thing really pinches me, that why not our universities, maybe of Latin America, maybe of South India, South Asia, why they are not thought to be equal to these universities or universities of Europe. So why this type of discrimination is there? And I'm just trying to work in my mind that what is Canadian culture? Is there any definition of the Canadian culture? Is there something layout of the Canadian culture that we should absorb into it?
Well, I've been here 53 years, and I think I'm still learning that. But hopefully in the next 3 weeks, we'll dive down a little bit more into that. Donna Marie?
I'll keep it short. Thank you, everybody. I really enjoyed the session again today, and I look forward to going on with the next sessions available. Thank you.
Elizabeth?
The one thing that really stuck out to me was just the difficulty that professionals have when we move countries. And one thing that's not mentioned is the financial hurdle that comes with that. Like, sure, you have to go to university again, perhaps, but I think what's even worse is that these associations or accreditation people will charge you $1,000 just so that you can prove that your education is worthy. And I think it's a broken system. It's kind of a money grab, and I wonder if there's not more that we can do about it.
Sabida.
What I found it's the same stories for all immigrants who came to this country or this place, and they're facing same challenges, same struggles. What I would like to say, it's a kind of a story, the stories of colorful people. I have a similar experiences that I try to make friends. I try to learn this community or society or system, and it's so hard to make connections here. And our discussions are it's around the building relationships and connection between people or our neighbors or our community associations. Now it's time to change our perception and be more open, more friendly. I think we need to think about and work on that.
Sophie.
This was great. I'm really glad I learned about it. You know, I'm also from Mexico. I know Dafne and Brenda. You know, everything that's been said, I think to Sharon's point, we've all gone through this as immigrants. It's a common theme. I haven't been to the other sessions, but I can see we all go through that common thing of like joining Canada, coming and, you know, struggling emotionally, financially, professionally, and within your communities, right? So I know the professional part has been discussed, and I know there's organizations that exist for a reason, because, you know, education systems are different in every country, right? So there's a reason why these institutions exist, but to your point, there's still lots to do on different areas. So this was great.
Thank you. This was great. Patricia.
It has been a pleasure being with you and Larry and Brenda and everyone. Always the recommendations that I provide when people want to get to know more about different countries in Latin America is take the time to be curious and ask questions, because it's very simple, you know, like, oh, you are from Colombia, okay, tell me about this and that. If you really want to know, don't take by granted that, oh, because we are Latinos, all we eat spices, like I just said in Mexico. No, we don't eat in Colombia so spicy like Mexicans. And I try to repeat myself, but go and ask different questions. Be curious with genuine curiosity, like a child.
Good advice. And I'll end with Dafne and Brenda.
It's awesome that we have these forums to speak and be heard. 100% with empathy and openness to learn. I think that's very important for me. And that, yeah, this was really exciting for me. And obviously I was very happy that I could just have Brenda with us and Patricia, because that would bring a different perspective for the Latin community. You know, and I think that's enriching the community itself, just by bringing awareness, letting other people know our cultures, and just being open to learn from others as well. So this has been very interesting, and I'm very happy that we're doing this work, and I get to be participating as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you for all your help.
No, I just want to thank everyone, Dafne, for the invitation, for considering me to participate on this. I love talking about this. I think it's very important to discuss, because it is, I mean, all this diversity and inclusion, it's really a complex task. But it shouldn't be seen only as a complex task. I mean, at the end of the day, we need to acknowledge and embrace that people is different. And I'm not just talking about, culturally different and or from different countries or ethnicities, but also just people is different in general, and we need to acknowledge and embrace those differences. And because that way is when we all have something to gain. And yeah, finally, I just think that we need to put more attention on, you know, whether you're part of the majority or of the minority, it doesn't matter. The point is contribution. The point is to exchange ideas and to discuss them. So thank you very much for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you, Brenda. This was great. And one thing I'll leave you with, one thought. My dad used to wear a button, and it would say on it, "We all smile in the same language." So I'll leave you with that thought. And thank you again for your time and contribution today.